One of the things I enjoy doing is speaking with real estate investors who are at the start of their journey. Something I've done inside our school community, one rental at a time, is reached out to the audience and said, hey, who wants to come on the channel and share their story, maybe ask some questions. So not only we can help them, but hopefully we can help others. Next guest is Dustin, who raised his hands and say, I would love to do that. So here we go, Dustin. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's good to be here.
Awesome, man. Well, do me a favor, just introduce yourself to the world. What say you? What are you doing? Where are you at? All that good stuff.
Yeah, so I am currently with my family living in Orlando, Florida, so Central Florida, and we have been here for about 6 years now. And originally from the Midwest, kind of did some travels around the world for various purposes, and then landed the least likely place I would have expected us to call home in this season of life, but here we are. And
Yep.
currently, a mental health counselor, actually. So did nonprofit for my entire life, literally from the moment graduated college, and then kind of had a mid career, midlife change of pace, change of direction, and been doing that for the last couple of years now.
Very, very cool. And then where are you in your real estate journey? Just getting started, have a
Yeah.
unit or two. Where does your journey at today?
Yeah, so I think the journey officially started last year, end of August, beginning of September. So just almost at a year. So it has been a journey, and a lot of stories to tell. But nonetheless, I was just actually talking with a friend yesterday. It was a pretty significant factor of me getting started on this journey, and I was realizing. So right now, in terms of what's happened over the course of the year, I've flipped one house. Have two flips that are in process. One is actually going to market this coming week. And then I have partnered with some family to actually have the first, which was kind of like our first application, I would say, of after following you, a change of strategy of sorts, of a buy and hold. So fix and hold
Nice.
multiplex, actually.
Oh, all right. Well, let's talk. So the first thing you did was a flip. That was your first foray into real estate investing.
Yes.
And was that in Orlando?
Just on the Space Coast. So
Okay.
over, yeah, just about 30-45 minutes east of where I live.
Oh, very cool. All right. So you're working full time, right? You're doing that. You find I don't know, I'll call it a fixer or value add. How'd you come across it? Was it off market, on market, family friend? Where'd you find the deal?
It was off market. Um, I was in zero community. I think like one of my first posts in the school was, "Hey, like it's nice to be part of a community and kind of like start to get to know people." I had one friend that connected me, and it played a very significant role still to this day. It's been kind of someone to do alongside of who's like here with
Yeah.
me, but no community, no background in real estate investing. He had a friend who's a wholesaler and a
Yep.
real estate agent, and kind of started giving him deals, and then he got one, and I was kind of like, much longer story that maybe as we have time can share more, but I was kind of like, I'm gonna wait and see what happens here. And I, like what's going to be on the other side of this? It's either going to be like a stay far away, this is not your realm, or I'm going to look more into this. And so it's kind of a wait and see watching him. And a lot of things didn't go the way he expected, but he still came out on the other side with a little bit of profit. And I was like,
Oh,
okay. And so tell
okay.
me the steps that you did. And so kind of told me the steps a little bit. I started reading a few books on flipping.
Hmm.
Again, not casting my net super wide, but it's just like, okay,
Yep.
this seems like something that I've seen repeated before my eyes, and not just someone on YouTube that tells me I'm going to become a millionaire in a year kind of
Right.
thing. And
Okay.
so yeah, that was I connected with this guy, and eventually uh, secured some financing, began that whole journey. And I would say
Nice.
that was the beginning of maybe where the mistakes come in, but
Huh.
nonetheless, yeah, that was
So
how I.
so I'm always curious about the first one. Would you now categorize it as a heavy fixer, a cosmetic fixer? What was this first project like?
It was a heavy fixer, and I did not.
Oh,
It was,
it,
it was, and I had all the fun surrounding peripheral events as well too. Um, from the day that I got the key, or thought that I was getting the key, till the
oh,
day that it closed. Yeah.
uh, okay. All right. Well, you do get to the other side of it eventually. Was there a little bit of profit left or what happened?
It was so I started following you when I was getting toward the putting it on market. And
Mhm.
so I was like, oh, well, maybe I can hold this. And it was the basically I was gonna have so much of basically all the money I had to do real estate investing trapped in this house.
Right. Yeah.
And it, to make it not an alligator, basically. And so I had another real estate agent friend that went in and walked it, and she's like, wrong neighborhood, wrong type of flip. I mean, wrong type of rental, basically.
Right.
You'll do your work better next time, but I would say sell this to get break
Yeah.
even and get out, and that's
Yeah.
basically
Get
what I
out.
ended up having to
Yeah.
do.
Well, that's okay. I mean, a lot of people lose money on the first flip, so you broke even. That's pretty good. It sounds like you do jump into two new projects. One's going to market. Now, would these still be heavy fixers, or did we learn that lesson?
So the other one was a much longer job and a heavy fixer, but I would say the right team to take it on.
Okay.
So I started to meet my team of sorts
Yep.
after that first one was going to market, and I had already closed on this one, but I did the MLS route, which means I actually knew what I was going to find, as
Mhm.
opposed to the kind of open up the surprise box and see what you got,
Surprise!
which was the first property.
Yeah.
Uh, and so no, it was a heavier one, but I think it felt much more manageable because I had the right real estate
Okay.
agent, the right lender, the right contractor, and all of that.
Nice.
And I bought from just wisdom as well too of beginning to get into this realm of things. When they say I kind of make your money when you buy, and I would
Oh
say
yeah.
that we were able to negotiate and get way, 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 way below market value. So big job, but big discount, which made this one a lot better.
Yeah, that's the key. I wish more people understood that. A lot of people get in this game think the money shows up when you sell.
Yeah.
It's when you buy. You
Mm,
might recognize it when you sell, but it is made when you buy. And if you are going to take on a heavy fixer, you're supposed to get paid. And that means a monster discount.
mm-hmm.
I'm curious, in Florida, I've never done anything there, but I know y'all have hurricanes.
Yeah.
Uh, have you ever bought a house that was either impacted by hurricanes or had any stuff with that?
Not so, I mean, being on the Space Coast certainly is you're yeah, they could easily come and, make things nasty for you. But no, I mean, certainly the insurance is more expensive, but so far I've not had in this
Okay.
journey. We had the tropical storm that was kind of supposed to hit us and went a little bit north,
Oh,
but
that's good.
yeah, but I did get a roof leak out of that one, so that was kind of that tropical storm to still in its distance to give us
Yeah,
some
yeah.
good and rain in that way. But besides that, I haven't been majorly affected by one yet.
There you go. There you go. So I'm curious, what does a heavy fixer look like? What like a heavy is it a brand new roof? Is it mechanicals? Is it like a gut kitchen, gut bath? What's a heavy fixer in Florida?
Yeah, so at least short version, the first house, it was because it was, again, I didn't know what to expect, but it was everyone left like 10 years, actually probably more about 20 years of junk all in it. So one was
Oh,
really,
hoarder
I mean,
house.
yep, I think there was that. I think there was some, extracurricular activities going on as well too. So it was going in and basically saying, yeah, it's going to be new AC, new vents. I thought
Yeah.
I would need new wiring. That was the one saving grace in all of it, is that we didn't need wiring.
There you go.
New roof. I mean, I mean, everything had to pretty much be good. It's block house, so
Hmm.
there was some things that are certainly they were mitigated in terms of having the block houses, which is what I try to go for here in Florida because there's a lot of those. But
Yeah. And a
um,
block house for people that don't know out here in other parts, it's just cement blocks, right?
yeah, which at the very least means you won't have, because termites love Florida, and so it kind of just it
Yeah.
reduces the chance that you're gonna find a
Yeah.
house that's
They're-
basically what my
yeah,
realtor
their
said.
termites don't like cement.
What my realtor friend says, you find the house that all the termites are joining hands together to hold it up,
Yeah.
and so it's like they go out and the house goes with them. So
There you go. There you go.
yeah, so that was the
So
thing that worked on that one.
yeah, so you start finding me, you start following me. Uh, Tell me about the multiplex buy and hold. What is that? How many units is that?
Yeah, so that's been a fun adventure in that way, because is when I began to start doing a buy box, which
Mhm.
was one I was also patient. I wasn't trying to jump at every single multiplex that came up,
Nice.
which was super helpful, and I can thank you for that in that sense. And so as I would see some, I basically made the kind of Zillow searches of like this criteria, this, and I just started watching. I found a place that was about 45 minutes away, small college town.
Okay.
So rent prices are good. Demand is still very high
Is that
there.
more, you said north, right?
It's northeast of where we are,
Okay.
yeah.
Got it. All right.
And so, yeah, inland a little bit. So not as even, in
Yeah.
hindsight, nice that I don't have to worry as much about the hurricane
Right.
impact. You asked that. And so, yeah, just having that criteria constantly, getting the updates and updates, and then running my numbers of everything that kind of comes up, finding out that that used to be like such a burden. And then now after doing it over and over again, I could kind of just look at the price and begin to see it. And I was like, he's not kidding. Like I kind of thought he was just saying this, and it's like, you start to just be able to look at it, and I'm like,
Yep.
wow, like that it's
Yeah.
possible. And that certainly
Yeah.
takes a lot of the work on that end to makes it a
Yeah.
lot less, burdensome in
But
that way. So
focus, daily discipline, you can't help but get better. It's just repetition, man. It's just, I wish more people understand. Do the work is not sexy. It's not get rich quick, but it's get rich for sure. So yeah,
yeah,
do the work, man. It works. It certainly
yeah,
works.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we found that one. I shared this with the school community as well, but it was one of those, okay, do you really want to jump into this? I find myself constantly in these situations where I'm like, I got more than I bargained for. We got it and I ran the numbers to the fourplex and I was like, this is going to be profitable. Well, then our contractor and our realtor go up into it and they send me pictures back and they're laughing. And I'm like, why are you guys laughing? Is this a no-go? And they're
Yeah.
like, opposite. And I'm like, why? I'm like, well, we got to the attic and we found 1,800 square feet of
Ah,
space you could develop easily. It's already because it's a top
yeah.
up. So we had 4 units and then they're like, we have space for about 4 more units. So you just went from a 4 to an 8-plex. And I was like, I think that's a good thing. And they're like, you
Yeah.
don't find these things.
Yeah. This is not supposed to happen.
No. So I was like, okay, I guess
Yes.
that
Yes,
went
I'm
really
buying it.
good. Yeah. So
I'm curious, when did you close on that one?
we closed on that one. It was, man, like what's the date today? It's in mid-August. It was end of July, I believe.
Okay, so you're two-ish weeks into this.
Yeah.
Is the plan to immediately go in and start developing that space, or are you going to deal with the four existing tenants and kind of clean that up? What's the plan now that you're the owner?
Yeah, so the previous owner had kind of done some repairs on the second floor, but it was awful job, and we basically had to go in, and we just now about to finish up those to get those rent ready. And then the bottom two were tenants in there, and they do need rehabbed, but I got inherited tenants. They're actually great tenants, and
Okay.
so way below market value, and a lot of deferred maintenance. But we're basically trying to play. I think I was in the book of it's like investing in duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes,
Yep.
and learning some of the strategy of okay, rehab those, get those filled, go down to one of the other ones. I have those on month to month, and
Hmm.
so do one of those, and then basically kind of I'm gonna do the binder method with kind of the
Yep.
one up downstairs that's not as deferred maintenance, and then that whole time doing the permitting and beginning all the plans so that we're not kind of losing time on that as well too.
Very cool. So I just want to kind of play that out. So again, you came into this with 2 units on the bottom filled with good tenants, below market but good. The upper two were vacant. Did I
Vacant.
hear that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So are they, I forget, did I ask, are they 2 bedroom, 1 bath? What are these units?
Yeah. So again, my realtor and contractor are very value add focused. And so they came in there, everything's 1-1s, but two of
Mm.
the ones on the left side, they're like easy to add another extra bedroom to both of these. And so we're able to
There we
make
go.
2-1 and 2-1 eventually. So we have one that's yeah, it'll be a 2-1, 1-1. And then when the other downstairs move out, we'll be able to make another
Yeah.
2-1 as
Yeah,
well.
that's something that's more and more new investors need to look at is how the square footage is laid out. There was
Mhm.
a time when units were developed that they did the whole living room, family room, den, space, and those don't really produce rent. For me, it's bedrooms, bathrooms, and parking, right?
Yeah.
Street covered or enclosed. And you just need to know what what brings in more rent. So if you could take a 1-1 and make it a 2-1, easy. Do
Yeah.
that all the time. I used to buy 2 bedroom, 1 bath houses and make them 3-1s all the time.
Yeah.
So I love that strategy. I love that strategy. So did you get into this with 30-year fixed rate debt, or what was the financing like?
Yeah, so kind of our plan, at least, especially with the multiplex, is that what you're referring to as the
Yep.
multiplex?
Mhm.
So because we're going to be moving from 4 now to 8, and we are taking a private loan that's helping us do a lot of the rehabs, our
Okay.
plan, talking with our lender and walking through some of the scenarios would be to eventually, right now we are on fixed 30-year for this right now, DSCR.
Mhm.
And it was a reasonable rate. We had to put 20, we did put in 25% instead of 20, which was kind
Yeah.
of a surprise halfway through, but
Yeah. Gives you a much better rate, that extra 5%.
it did. And then they wanted a 5-year prepay, but I think we paid a little bit of a higher rate to do a 2-year prepay, because
Oh,
ideally I think they were
smart.
thinking once we can get everyone in and get a
Mhm.
good, like, I think they said with commercial now, like loans, you want maybe up to 2 years of rent that's you can basically show them. So the hope would be get the whole place filled, get it rented. It'll be a little over 2 years, I think, obviously, for at that point, and then
Right.
try to do like a cash out refi on a commercial loan to be able to pay ourselves back. And even some of the numbers right now, we bought so low on this quadplex. It could be really nice. Can't predict the future, but very
Yeah.
much be able to get our money and then some, and be able to pay back that loan, and then kind of get something settled
Very
from.
cool. Very cool. So I'm curious, you obviously got a project on your hands with this fourplex, eightplex, I don't call it renovation, conversion, whatever you want to call it. You also
Yeah.
have two flips that you're exiting. I'm curious, when the flips exit, is the plan to go for another project, or is it like, hey, whoa, time out. I need 6 months to digest this. What's the plan, Dustin?
Yeah, I think that the hope is to take that money and watch my buy boxes and just sit and be ready. I think I've loved hearing you, share like, hey, like I think every season there's something you could be doing. And I think the
Yep.
good deals again are, there if you're patient enough with it. And I've learned the hard way that when you're not patient, you might not get a good deal. And so
Yeah.
I think the hope is to really, with the knowledge of even watching those buy boxes, to be ready to be able to do some of those good deals again. But
Yeah. This
um,
is a key point I just want to hit again. Lots of people will get in your situation where they take on a project and they will take all their time and focus on the project. Their thinking is, hey, I got to make sure this is successful. I believe that's a mistake. You
hmm,
certainly need to make sure it's successful. Don't get me wrong, but you got to keep looking at your buy box. As
hmm,
soon as you miss looking at your buy box for as little as a week or two, it can completely change on you.
hmm,
And again, you never know when the deal of a lifetime comes along. I have a saying, I haven't said in a while, that I believe the deal of a lifetime comes around once a year.
really.
But most people miss them because they're not looking,
Hmm,
right? Could be seller financing, could be, who knows what it might be, but if you've already done the work and you're starting to see the numbers like you kind of articulated earlier,
hmm,
never stop.
hmm,
Never stop looking. It only takes 10, 15 minutes. You've got to, like, once you've got that repetition, the worst thing you could do is take a month off, because then you're hosed. You're starting from scratch. So I loved that you said you're going to keep going. At least keep looking.
yes, absolutely. It's even on the hardest days, it's addicting. Like you want to get back in there again. And
Yeah.
you always talk about the why, and I think that's what
Yeah.
constantly has me looking for the next, is like the why are you doing this, right? Was it just to hit like a home run and then like call it a
Yeah.
day, or
Take your
just
trophy and go home. There
exactly? And that's just not. I've come too far from the first deal to stop now in that way. So
you go. There you go. Well, I'm curious. Did you come with any questions or topics you want to have me riff on or anything like that?
yeah. I mean, I'm doing this. Obviously, I with my wife has been so supportive of everything we've been doing, and she's the moral support. So I get the phone call from the contractor saying it's way more than you
Yeah.
imagine, kind of
Need more
thing.
money.
Exactly. She's the one that reminds me of the why. She's the one that
Nice.
reminds me of kind of like what we're doing, why we're doing it, the goals of everything. She's for sure. I probably wouldn't be, here talking to you if it wasn't for her constant encouragement. I would have backed out after the first one 100%.
Yeah.
But it made me curious as to like how, I've watched your first episode of Buying Vegas. And so I got a little bit of the dynamics of
Yeah.
you and your wife's like interactions, but I was just curious of like, what did it look like for you to with your family, with
Yeah.
your wife, your situation, like what did that look like for you? And any recommendations or tips as you guys, like how that looked for you and what you learned?
Yeah. So I was very, very lucky in that we were able to do work life balance. Basically, my job was to sell as much software as I could and find deals and secure capital. Olivia's job was to raise the family, make sure Teresa, our daughter, is well cared for, and to do our books. So one
Mm,
thing that we did on purpose that I would recommend other couples do is we had kind of a Friday night date night,
mhm,
where we would just talk about the week. I would tell her the deals I'm looking at or the private money I'm lining up or whatever, and she would tell me about the evictions or the repairs or whatever. Because again, we had property management, so she wasn't actually doing hands-on management, but she had to do the approvals and the process and look for errors. And um, I couldn't have done this without her. The other thing that I gave credit to Olivia for in the book was after Norris Drive, when it blew up in my face, right? I lose $160,000 in the stock market. I then go buy a rental in a city I knew nothing about, that the first tenants destroy the property. I'm ready to give up again because I feel like I'm a failure, right? And she looks at me and goes, "Did we do anything wrong?" I go, "No, we credit checks, reference checks, blah, blah, blah." They got divorced and the husband turned into an alcoholic.
mm,
That's not on the rental application. And life happens. And she said, "Let's try it one more time." And that one statement, set us on a complete new path because the next tenants were great. We 1031 that house into an apartment, and it's been. But I was ready to give up. So my wife was the moral support. She was the backbone. The other thing
mm.
I found out, during writing the book is I had bad days and she had bad days, but we never had bad days together. When she was down, I was up, and when I was down, she was up. So it was very much a ham and egg, peanut butter and jelly kind of relationship. But it really came down to having that cadence on Friday to talk about what was going on, because she could vent, you know, crazy property manager did blah blah blah, eviction blah blah blah, and I could say, man, it's tough out there. It's hard to do this, hard to do that. But at least it allowed us to share and move forward together, and it was definitely a weekly cadence. I recommend that.
Mhm. I like that. What kind of a follow-up question of that, of even just the, I know your phrase kind of like the first 5 years suck, and
Yeah.
and I will be able to testify to at least year one of my five very
Good
much
news,
that.
you only got four left.
And so did you have that in your mind when you first started though? Like I could
No.
imagine that would be so discouraging, to not have anyone to be able to say, hey, first X amount of years are going to suck, but it's worth it because when you get here, it's going to
Yeah.
change.
Well, that's
So like,
that's why I wrote my
putting
second
yourself-
book.
yes.
That's exactly why I wrote the second book, 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires, because I only had our story. And
Yeah.
thankfully it worked out. But because of this channel, I've interviewed lots of folks
Mhm.
like Meet Kevin and Jason Pritchard and so many others that are in the book. And people just need to know it works out. But
Mhm.
it sucks for everybody the first 5 years. I wish somebody could have told me that. When I was in the suck, I was like, does this ever end? Does this ever end? And it does, thankfully. But yeah, that's why I created the school community too, was
Mhm.
because I wanted to get like-minded people at different points of the journey in the same place. So
Yeah.
you could help somebody that's just starting, and somebody that's 4 years ahead can help you. And oh, by the way, you're developing 4 units. I have contractors in there. And so having a safe place with like-minded people speaking the same vocabulary, I think might go down as my biggest legacy. That's
Mhm.
over a YouTube channel of 61,000. That's over two best-selling books. I think school has a chance to be the thing that I'm known for in very short order, because it's only like 270 people, and it's already an amazing place. I
Yes.
think it only gets better as more and more people join.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I loved your phrase of why your chart, your like the cost to be in it, it's just high enough to keep the trolls out.
Really,
Cheap enough to be like way, and it is, I can attest to this, been
20
more
bucks, man.
valuable than any of my other purchases in this
Yeah.
way. So I love being a part of that community, but it's so true. You don't get sarcastic, kind of like
No.
ridiculous, or it's like literally everyone's saying, here's my story, here's what's the bet.
Yeah.
And I love that about that community. It's pretty
Yeah,
exciting.
The beauty of the school community is just like my Vegas event last year and hopefully my Vegas event this year.
Mm.
It's the community. It's the people in the room. Now, as somebody who created it, I had to poke and prod for the first 50 or 100 people because there wasn't really much interaction. But once we crossed 200, I I don't post a lot, right? I schedule events. I'll go
Yeah,
live once in a while, but it's doing exactly the momentum's building.
yeah, absolutely.
I look forward to it being something I'm known for is one rental at a time school community. I told Alex Ramosi, actually on X, I told him that we're going to be a top 100 school, and I think as of yesterday we're a top 725.
I'm
So
watching the countdown.
yeah, exactly. It's on X, dude. I'm counting it down every time I take a picture. So join. Let's tell Alex Ramosi we're in the top 100. We'll be the only real estate school in the top 100.
That's
Right now, the top real estate school is like 300.
I
So
think
we're actually number 4. Yeah, we're already number 4. Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah. You
There
got
needs to be
one more
communities like
question?
that.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying there needs to be, that's the reason why it's growing is that this is the kind of
Yeah.
community I think we need in the real estate investing world. And my small, tiny little bit of experience on it, it's what's needed.
No, it's created for the community, right? Like you said, the price point's low enough or high enough to keep the trolls away, but it's cost of 2 lattes. You get at least one millionaire discussion every week live only for like there's content on school that only will ever live on school. You can go, there's a thumbnail called special guests.
Mhm,
There's like 20 hours of just like Henry Washington is in there and
mhm,
just all these other amazing people. So yeah, and then you got the 10-week boot camp, you got a buy box, you got creative financing, all just extras people give away. It's pretty cool.
mhm. Yeah. Um, yeah, my only question, I think it's all mine are very family oriented because this is
Oh,
very,
please. I
I
love
have
it.
three 10 and under right now. And so they've been with me when I have literally gone to go find out, hey, what's the house going to look like and everything else. And so I've had plenty of groans when I say the city we're headed to and things like that. Yeah. But I mean, like, what did it look like to even like bring your kids along on the journey and kind of educate them of what you were, learning and, did you, or how much did you kind of share versus kind of protect them from of the, really
Yeah.
hard times or like, I don't want to be
Yeah.
doomed or anything like that.
Yeah. So here's some words of advice from a guy who did it wrong. I think
Mm,
one of the things, there's a couple of things I did wrong with Teresa. That's my daughter, Teresa. First and foremost, when we took her out, it was always to the ugly properties. Like
mm,
we were buying when all the foreclosures were happening,
yeah.
and she still talks about the cockroach house. There was a house we opened the door and cockroaches fell from the ceiling.
Hmm.
That's not a good idea to bring an 11 or a 12-year-old to that. They remember those things. So what I would tell or advise you to do is to bring them to the remodel, the pretty houses.
Mm,
Bring them to lease signings. Bring them to show them the rent checks or the wires or the Zells or whatever.
yeah.
Get the conversation going about the positive.
I
They
love
won't
that.
always get it, but it will resonate. They will remember those things.
Yeah.
So don't bring them to the ugly. Bring them to the pretty. Bring them to the ones that smell good.
Mm,
Don't bring them to the bad ones. Second, talk about money more.
mm,
One of the errors I made, and I actually regret, is I carried my baggage of money from a kid to raising Teresa. What do I mean by that? Money was scarce in my family.
mm,
And in my family, if we didn't have money, it was loud and uncomfortable.
mm,
And I never wanted that for my daughter. But I also never talked about money. And I think that was a huge mistake.
mm,
We should talk about taxes and credit cards and loans and 401ks, just so it's not net new vocabulary to them.
yeah.
Um, Definitely. And the other thing is, it's actually on my website, One Rental at a Time. There's a tab called These Made Me Rich,
Mm,
this cash flow game from Robert Kiyosaki. That game surprisingly, I actually just had, if you watch my YouTube channel, I just had two family friends in town, Brant and Sky. We
mm,
played that like 3 days in a row, and they're 16 and 14. They're like, let's do it. I want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer. Oh no, I'm a janitor. And the janitor won. So there's a lot of value in that game. It teaches you stuff. So there's play Monopoly, play
Mhm.
games that involve money. So money can't be taboo. I incorrectly probably made money a taboo for Teresa, and that's a regret I have today.
That's really good. Cash Flow is a board game in our house, and it's our 10-year-old
Nice.
game right now. So I I thought it was going to be the game that dad wants to play that nobody else wants to play. And it was a hit. So I can attest to that game's value in that way. But that's really good wisdom on especially the bringing to the rehabs because I maybe have brought mine into a cockroach house as well too.
Yeah, they're going to remember that. You're going to hear about that decades later. Let me just
I,
tell
I
you.
I I've been hearing about it, and I probably will continue if it sounds like it's similar to your situation.
Yeah, she still says, "They almost landed on my head, Dad," but they didn't. Oh man, that's awesome. Well, Dustin, thank you for saying yes to this. Thank you for being a part of school. Thank you for sharing. Um, Anywhere people can follow you or anything like that?
I'm not yet. Maybe as the journey continues and I can begin to reflect back. I'm not the most social media heavy in my presence. My profession doesn't really necessarily allow that as much either. So I'm much more involved in the school community though. So if
There
you're
you
in the
go.
school community, you'll see my name in there occasionally
Yeah.
to jump in
Do
that
me a
way.
favor, folks. If you are in the school community, let Dustin know how awesome he did. Send him a note, send him a text, comment, whatever you want. Dustin, thank you for taking time.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate all you
Very,
done.
thank you, buddy.